Early on in World War II, Germany and the Soviet Union signed a non-aggression pact, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, so during this time, Stalin looked to his neighbor Finland, ready to invade it. This would bring out a Finnish farmer who would literally fill up cemeteries. This is Simo Hayha, claimed by many to be the world's greatest sniper for having the most confirmed eliminations by taking out more enemies than any other sniper in the world. He has a record of picking off over 500 soldiers. This means, by some army standards, he wiped out an entire battalion. A brief summary of Simo is that of a Finnish farmer, who was in a voluntary militia civil guard at the age of 17, where he was successful at shooting competitions. Reports show that although he had numerous trophies that filled his home, he was one that was humble and avoided the spotlight. However, at age 19 he began his one-year military service that just happened to be 1 year before the Red Army invasion. He did exceptionally well and was off to join the war. Some things to consider in Simo's fight against the Red Army is the weather conditions and uniforms. Some days would only get as little as 3 hours of daylight, and down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Simo used a Finnish variant of a Mosin Nagant bolt-action rifle and wore a white winter suit like many other Finnish soldiers, while the oncoming Red Army arrived in a winter white Finland wearing brown coats. Simo would dig himself into the snow. Unlike most other soldiers, he refused to use a scope because he didn't want the sun's glare to reflect by using one, leading to his position being given away. Aside from the obvious brown-coated Soviets he'd be picking off, this is how he could identify counter-snipers. Once Stalin was embarrassed, realizing he wasn't advancing through the country as fast as he wanted, his generals would feel this punishment by having their lives taken away at his order. Simo was picking off Red Army soldiers with just his iron sights. The Red Army was getting aggravated that their heads kept getting blown away. This called for an artillery strike specifically on Simo. The shelling did hit near his location, tearing some of his clothing, but not injuring him. Counter-snipers would also be called in to try and find him. Some of Simo's techniques for remaining stealth in the snow for prolonged periods of times would be by sitting down to keep a low profile. Simo was 5'3". He would pack snow around his gun to not reveal its spark from firing. In addition, Simo didn't want his breathing air to be seen, so he would put snow in his mouth and breathe with it to avoid it from showing. On average, Simo would estimate 5 Russian soldiers a day. All of his tallies were over the course of exactly 100 days. Of the 100 days, his highest streak for a single day would be taking down 25 soldiers. Those not familiar with the Winter War may be surprised to know that many Finnish soldiers battled on skis. Some of these soldiers would zip by Soviet soldiers and unload their weapons on them. According to one of Simo's memoirs, he captured a Soviet soldier, blindfolded him, and turned him into a Finnish camp where they were having a fire and a small party. The Soviet soldier was very relieved by this, however disappointed when Simo had to lead him back out and send him on his way. I do have to admit Simo had the advantage that his targets stuck out before Stalin could get his infantry proper winter gear to combat the Finnish soldiers with, but I also can't discredit his prestigious accuracy, considering he eliminated hundreds of enemies. It should also be noted that some sources say 505 were eliminated by sniper rifle, whereas around 200 were with an SMG. It is possible that these numbers could be exaggerated by Finland. Historians confirm that at least in the 200s link back to Simo. Either way, it's beyond impressive and true that he was a hot target as they placed a bounty on him. On his last battle, Simo would unfortunately be hit by another sniper, directly in the face. It's important to note it wasn't an ordinary round. Simo had got hit with an explosive round. It was discovered among his fellow soldiers who thought he didn't make it. Simo was then placed with other bodies until they realized a twitch of his leg, and that he was still alive. From there they would take him to the hospital where he would regain conscious later. Simo Hayha survived after several years of recovering in a hospital from his injuries. The damage would partially paralyze him as the explosion hit his left jaw. It's interesting that on the same day he first woke up during recovery, March 13th of 1940, the Winter War had also ended with a peace treaty. Simo is legend material, picking off hundreds, surviving bounties, defeating counter-snipers, surviving personalized artillery strikes, and surviving an explosive blast to the face. Simo lived to the age of 96 and passed in 2002. Like and subscribe for more, and if you enjoyed this, check out my video on the Red Army's best sniper here on Ludmila Pavlichenko. Until next time.